Thank God. The question is that you do not know what makes life worth living. Okay? You do not know what makes life worth living. So that will lead to C and D. D has to do with discover in your life situation what would be a meaningful purpose for you, and also life as a whole, what you really want in life. D will include disputing false values, disputing misguided ambitions. Just like you dispute the dysfunctional thought, you dispute the values or ambitions that actually counterproductive values and pursuits that take you further away from what you really want. It can take you away from your family, your friends, got you trapped got caught in the rat race. So D including disputing false values. Okay? Now C is different now. C means that even before you discover what you really want, don't waste your time. You try to do something each day that's meaningful to you. I mean, whatever, even you still don't know what you do. Some people say, well, I really do not know what to do with my life, or what kind of job I should get. Do you mean sit there and rot and do nothing? Right? You still have to say, here is what I've got. Here's my situation. It's not an ideal situation. The work environment is not a perfect work environment, but I still have to make the best of the situation. Remember, work with what I've got. I've got to work with what I've got and to create something meaningful for today. Maybe tomorrow, some opportunities will open up. You always say, right now, here we are in that situation. What can I do to create something that makes me feel good about myself, that can help other people in my limited way, without a position? I'm the lowly employee here, rather than a big boss. At this level, I cannot do very much. But instead of griping, complaining, I ask myself, what can I do? Is it a difference, right? You can complain, oh, if I were him, I can do that and that, that. But you're not him. You are you, lowly employee, a lowly clerk. In order to feel good about your job, feel bad, otherwise you ruin your family, you ruin everything. You want to feel good about yourself. You say, well, God, you put me here. This is my station in life right now. It's not forever. But right now in my station, what can I do to create something beautiful, something meaningful, something good? You always have a choice, right? You say, well, I don't know what my life is all about. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to sulk and complain. You have a choice. Other hand say, I don't understand life. There's a mystery of suffering, a mystery about the future. But I'm doing something about it in my limited way. In small things, I'm doing something for my satisfaction and for the benefit of my friends and my family. That makes life so different. The only limitation is what? Is the selfishness and lack of imagination or lack of courage. There's so many ways little things you can do or think about that can create some meaning for your life. And that can be very uplifting for your client. the most powerful part about this approach is that you can always transform something negative into positive.
My question isn't that. I totally agree with you. I believe that. But the question is how?
What I'm telling you, okay, how, okay? The two tools you can use, two skills, okay? One tool is that think about the possibility. How can we? I mean, in research in experimental psychology called benefit finding. How you find some benefit, something good, in a bad situation? Or I call that existential coping. We'll talk about it tomorrow, okay? But that is not a big deal. I mean, you can always find something. You can always find silver lining in that cloud. You can always find something positive in a bad situation. That's one thing. Second thing is that you can always approach the problem from a larger perspective. That is, what? That the idea that you're not alone, that many people have gone through abuse, right? They're able to survive and grow. So that's possible for that encourage them, right? That their problem is horrible. It's not to trivialize it, but if you take a larger picture, that all people suffer. The suffering is part of life. The people suffer in different ways. That this happen to be their lot. That the way to deal with suffering is to help to find some positive from suffering and move on. You cannot get stuck with that. So that is a very practical thing to do, right? It's not something philosophical, deep. It's a very practical thing that you can always find a benefit in negative situation. And you can always relate to the large human drama of struggle with suffering, with death, with anxiety. That human drama, don't complain about it. That's life. Like what friend Leslie, he just lost his, you never know that he just lost his wife to cancer. He's such a happy, open person. You can move on with life. But this life is all about. That we go through suffering, we anticipate death. What's the point of life with suffering and death? That's what we have to answer, right? And the client has to find some reason for going on. I remember a cancer patient. I mean, the chemotherapy was killing her. And she said, no way I'll go through that again. No way. I'd rather die. I'd rather die. So then she looked at her children. She said, for me, I'd rather die. But for young children, I'm willing to endure the chemotherapy, to survive for my children. See? So we talk about positive transformation, talk about bringing the larger picture. And another key skill important is listening. Listening. If you watch Carl Rogers tape, it is so amazing. This guy is amazing. Not Carl Rogers. And he will often say things seem to be out of context. Or he will ask a question that seems to be out of context. Do you know why? Because he's able to listen below the surface. He was able to, it's called advanced empathy. They're able to listen to this person's needs, his intention, his feeling, his aspiration. Okay, I'll mention two aspects. Number one is, we talk about listening with your eyes, okay? Do you know emotion affect your body, right? By your body. And if you're excited, your pupil dilate, right? You're angry, your hand like this. I mean, it's just automatic. I mean, you're not aware of it. Your emotion always manifests itself in your bodily language. So a good therapist will pay attention to the body language. If your body tells you about a lot more about emotion than one thing. The second thing, based on most research, they say that cognition lead to emotion, okay? And they also believe in primacy of emotion. But for the meaning approach, what will elicit emotion, different kind of emotion, is not the event, but the meaning attached to the event that determine the emotion. So if you find that people react to something in a very negative way, then you have to say, well, what does that thing mean to you? What kind of significance? Is there something special about this event, of this person? If you're able to change the meaning attached to that occurrence, to that event, you change the emotion. That's why I say positive transformation. If you're able to transfer a negative meaning into a positive meaning, automatically you generate positive emotion. So that's why I say actors, they're the best in empathy. They're a way of getting your skin of the character and find your secrets. This is something psychology have to learn. This is some skill that we have developed. See, I read poems. You know why? The poems, what makes poem different from a prose or a novel? The poem is full of metaphors, full of music. There's a beat to it, there's a music to it, there's a metaphor. So if you immerse yourself in metaphors, and then you're able to understand, to see the metaphor, the symbols, the hidden in their statements. And also I encourage people to read Shakespeare and great novels. Again, help you to understand the human condition. When it's so focused on skills and not enough on human condition, you'll be shortchanged your clients. You got to learn more about humanity, about human nature, about human condition, from great philosophers, novelists, poets, that make you better therapists. This is not special skill, but that's professional development, right? Developing knowledge about human nature. Another question, we have 10 more minutes. So tomorrow we talk about transformative coping with daily living. But the key you need to keep in mind is that it had to do with the human condition. It had to do with discovering meaning for the situation and for your life. It also has to do with, at present, commit yourself to certain actions, certain activities that lead to a better future. It's the big picture, it's meaning, it's transformation, it's action. You think that way, it's become very simple. There are always actions, activities that people can commit to that will make a difference in their lives. Okay? The big picture, the transformation, and the meaning, and the activity. So that if you're able to remember A, B, C, D, that will give you a handle. So remember, be a transformer.